Castlevania III is one of my favourite NES games of all time, and also one of my favourite cartridges that I own as an adult. You play as Trevor Belmont in the game. He is an ancestor of Simon Belmont, who you played in the first two Castlevania games. So, this game is actually a prequel to the original game, which I was totally oblivious to this fact as a kid. When I first played this game in the early 90s, I just presumed Nintendo got sick of people complaining how confusing Simon's Quest was, and decided to go back to the original format. But with this game, there's two important improvements. First of all, you get to play as different characters. A bit like TMNT, but you could change characters mid-level. The characters you get are Grant, who can climb walls, Sypha, who is a wizard-type character who can cast spells, and Alucard, who could turn into a bat and fly past difficult parts in a level. Another thing I didn't realize as a kid is Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards. That went straight over my head. The second big thing is that you could choose your path, or essentially what levels you wanted to play. So you feel like you're in control of your own destiny. I remember as a kid, I would always choose the levels with the big gears in it. Okay, introduction over, let's play through this thing. Level 1 is pretty standard for a Castlevania game. I love all this stained glass here. The level 1 boss, the Skull Knight, he's pretty easy, especially when you spam him with daggers. Next, I like to head to the Clock Tower level. This is my favorite level of all the original Castlevania games. The level design is amazing. I just love all the sprockets moving around, and jumping across these pendulums, it looks intimidating, but actually it's not too hard. The next boss is Grant. I just spam him with holy water. Sorry, I know this is cheap. After beating him, you can join your party. I don't know why you'd ever say no, but you can. At this point, everything starts caving in, and the bridge to the final castle collapses into the sea. This means you've got to turn around and go down the level you just came up. I thought this was absolute genius as a kid. As you head back down, Grant is really useful. He can cling to the walls and ceilings like Spider-Man. He can also get to hard to reach areas like this secret one-up. That wasn't very clever. Okay, I think you can just fall off here to get to the bottom. Nope. Okay, is it here? Yep, here we go. Right, quickly run through this section. It's like the Mist level in Faxanadu, and we've got another choice. Here I like to choose a route to Sypha, or the wizard route as I used to call it. What are these, jellyfish? Then watch out for these spiders from Castlevania II. The boss at the end of the level is the Cyclops. I just tend to hang around the edges. Once he's defeated, you get Sypha, who's a magic wizard. Or wait, it's the vampire hunter, sorry. Anyway, get out of here, Grant. To be fair, Grant's pretty nice about this being ditched, and he says you should go with him for now. The next level is like a pirate ship. I love these enemies that hold their heads in their hands while they're attacking you. They do look like pirates, don't they? Not sure why the lifts from Super Mario Bros. Are in here, but anyway, let's move on. You will find the Medusa in this level as well. The Medusa looks quite a bit different from when we met her in Castlevania 1. A bit of platforming on these flippy thingies, and you get to a boss, which are the mummies, which we also saw from the first Castlevania. Once you beat them, there is actually a second part, where you need to fight Cyclops again. Okay, now, quick little boat ride to the other side of the map. This next level is a bit annoying. The screen auto moves up, so what do you gotta do? You gotta stay on top of the screen to avoid dying. But if you do that, an enemy will suddenly appear on top of you. How are you supposed to avoid that? I suppose it's not as annoying as these hitback deaths that this game still suffers from. The boss at the end of the level is the Frankenstein monster, which we've seen before. There you go, bit of backstabbing there. That wasn't very honorable. Okay, we're on the other bridge now. Let's hope it doesn't collapse before we get there. Of course the bridge is collapsing. This is Castlevania III. The workmanship around here is so shoddy. At the end of this level, you've got two water dragons. They look exactly the same as the boss Barba in Zelda 2. Now, we can head into Dracula's castle. This might be a good point to look at how we could have got Alucard. Now, if we headed down here instead, into the swamp, we quickly find ourselves in a battle with a giant bat. This is like the giant bat from the first game, except when you hit it, it divides. We continue on, which kind of reminds me of the mansion stages in Castlevania 2 with all these drip creatures. You also get a lot of these fire enemies from TMNT. Is it just me, or does the music sound a lot like Metroid? Especially with these fuzzy things circling about. At the end of the level, you beat Alucard, who looks just like Dracula. You might get fooled into thinking actually you're fighting the final boss. He's a pretty cool character to play, and has a good long-range attack. Okay, let's head back to the beginning of Dracula's castle. There's some annoying platforming, then this part where the screen auto-scrolls down, the reverse of what we'd previously seen. Before we get into the castle, there's a boss battle, a three-parter, the mummies again, Cyclops again, and then this devil creature. Now we're in the castle. Wow, it looks just like the beginning of Castlevania 1. Just a really hard version of it. Not another falling bridge. Bye-bye, guard. Have a nice trip. This then leads on to the Grim Reaper, which I always found to be a nightmare in Castlevania 1. When you beat Death, this leads on to another boss battle with a giant skull. Look at the size of this. What has a skull this big? Someone with a huge ego? Right. Does this look familiar? This is the exact same scenario you face in Castlevania 1, which I really struggle with. You just get overwhelmed with all these guys. Now some spikes from Castlevania 1, only slightly harder this time. I call this next section the Waterfall of Despair. It just makes you want to cry, it's that hard. And if that's not enough, you find yourself in another auto-scrolling section that you need to rush through. However, there is a cheeky one-up. Then, more water and more waterfalls. This section is just the worst. The boss in this section is yourself, which is very cool. It's kind of like Double Dragon 2. Well, we've got a bit of a standoff here. Don't blink. This is followed by another auto-scrolling level, made worse by these disintegrating bricks. Now for the cheap death part. You're stuck on these pendulums as bats fly by. With knockback deaths, you're just a sitting duck. Okay, enough whinging. Let's climb these stairs like we did in Castlevania 1. And we finally make it to Dracula. He takes three forms. The normal form, this weird, grotesque, floating heads form, and this griffin form. Dracula's castle goes down the elevator again. Sypha's a woman? Whoa. Plot twist. Throughout the game, they always refer to Sypha as him. It's a nice surprise, and they look happy together. Hope you enjoyed this insanely hard game. See you in the next video.